What's up, everyone? Thank you so much for checking out this video here on Show Style and Spirit. I am Ebony, of course. As you can see from the title of this video, I will be giving my commentary on part one of Nene Leakes' interview with Carlos King. As you all know, the part one of his interview with Nene, it did premiere this morning, Tuesday, July 25th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And there are some things that I wanted to talk about. I did take notes on some things that I felt like really stood out, at least for me. But before I jump in, I ask that you all please hit the like button on this video. It would help my channel so much. Other people who watched the interview and wanted to hear other content creators' commentary, they would perhaps find this video and perhaps give me a shot. And if you have not already done so, please subscribe to Show Style and Spirit. I would love to have you when I go live, when I upload videos. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So Nene actually referred to Kim Zolciak as a star. I was very shocked by this. With Nene, she is so up and down like a seesaw when it comes to Kim Zolciak. I remember in the beginning of the Carnival 19, when the country was completely shut down, I was working from home, of course. I would log off, and Dr. Heavenly would go live during the day, but Nene would go live in the evening, sometimes on her YouTube channel, but a lot of times on her IG. And back then, she and Kim Zolciak had rekindled their friendship, because they're always falling out, getting back together, falling out, getting back together. But during the Carnival 19, Kim Zolciak would go live with her. They would reminisce, say that they missed each other. And then the next thing that I knew, she had filed her lawsuit against Bravo and NBC Universal. And she actually used Kim Zolciak's behavior on the show as like a catalyst for her to be able to claim discrimination and retaliation in her lawsuit. And I was just so shocked because I was like, well, when we were in the thick of the Carnival 19, you all were cool. What happened? And now she's back to being cool with Kim Zolciak. I want to know from you all, could somebody sue you and then later call you a star? I mean, is it like that? Please let me know. It wouldn't be like that with me, baby. You can save the fakery, okay? Now, in terms of Kim Zolciak specifically, I think that Kim's confessionals were funny. You know, those early seasons of Roa. Kim Zolciak has a great sense of humor. I think that Kim, Nene, and Sheree had great chemistry. But to just single Kim Zolciak out and call her a star, I wouldn't say that. I would say she blended well, especially with Nene and Sheree. They all seem to gel together pretty good. Nene actually broke down her pay during the early years as follows. I was surprised. Nene said that season one of the Real Housewives of Atlanta, she was paid just $10,000 for filming what we saw in the episodes. Then she was given an additional $5,000 for the reunion, for a total of $15,000. Then during season two, she was able to negotiate $50,000, which is obviously more than 3 times the $15K total that she earned during season one. Then she said for season three, the cast banded together, hired a lawyer, and they were able to negotiate 6 figures. Once they banded together, Nene said that, season 3 was the beginning of us getting to the bag. And, yes, that was shocking to learn that they were paid $15,000, because I look at reality TV stars, they would be like self-employed people, obviously. They're not W-2 workers. They would write off some of their income, whether it's, saying, oh, well, I work at home when I'm filming. I pay my glam squad, my driver, etc. So $15,000, that's not even a lot to even flip and write off, I'm sure if you just saved a few thousand of that, boom, you can pay the taxes on it to the IRS. But anyway, The jump from 15K to 50K was significant, but that is still like your lower middle class income here in the United States. So then once they were starting to make the six figures, now you're like in the upper class income. All right. So then Nene said that if Cynthia wasn't married to Peter, if she wasn't marrying Peter season 3 when she joined, she does not think that Cynthia would have ever made it to Real Housewives of Atlanta. She said that Nene or Cynthia on camera is totally different than Cynthia off camera. And she and Carlos, they actually talked about this a couple of times during this part 1. In the beginning, or closer towards the first half of this part 1, she said that Cynthia off camera would get Peter together, curse him out, put him out the house. And Carlos added to that and said, yeah, sometimes Peter had to sleep the night at his bar because Cynthia had put him out. And I was shocked by that. I felt a couple of ways. I was shocked to hear that she would actually check Peter and even put him out the house, because in those early seasons of Roa, Peter would be downright disrespectful, and then he was so comfortable asking Cynthia for money for one of his businesses. And, I just felt like she was so passive and would actually be open to giving him more money after she invested in Uptown, and Uptown didn't make it. And to his credit, when Uptown had to be closed down, that was because this entire country and world was in a global recession. But she had invested in Uptown, obviously did not make that return on her investment. And then she was expected to help with Bar 1, Atlanta. But I've even heard Peter say on other blogs that he wished Cynthia was more like who she is off camera. He says Cynthia is funny, but he felt like she held back because of her training as a supermodel and models being trained to carry themselves in public a certain way. That was not the reasoning that Nene gave to Carlos during this part 1 interview when he asked her, why do you think Cynthia is so different on camera than she is off camera? And she said she just felt like, well, lots of girls on this show didn't show their real lives. And Nene often said during this part 1 that from the gate, from season 1, she just wanted to be herself. And she said she felt like actually some of the other women were more flashier than her season 1, and she wasn't sure if she'd be liked. And then she said it turns out that she was, the star. But I have to say, I don't totally agree with Nene that she was always herself. I think the part of her that would be like going off on people, I think that was like herself. But we never saw 100% like Bryson struggles. We heard about him getting arrested season 4. When she returned from South Africa, she learned that he had been arrested, and Peter went to her and was like, oh, let him out, trying to turn her into like, this enabler. But I felt like she never really shared who her sons were, because she did not want the public to pick them apart. But she said that the viewers did, and I just disagree with that. She really didn't show them. I feel like we learned more about Bryson from talking to Simone, the mother of his son Blaze. Y'all let me know what you think about that. When Carlos asked Nene about Bryson, she actually said that John from season 4 called her this week after learning about Bryson's arrest and said that he offered to pay for Bryson's rehabilitation. Now, if y'all are wondering, well, who the heck is John? John was the Italian man from season 4 when Nene and Greg were separated. She was seeing John, and they were filming scenes with people, with investors, like John was going to invest in a lounge, the Lenithia Lounge, way back then. And we all know that they dated. He bought her a Rolex. She said she brought it to the Carlos King interview. And he bought her designer shoes. He took her on trips. I'm sure she was, effing him good. She's never confirmed that, but I doubted he was just doing that for free. Now, I've dated outside of my race. I've dated Indian, Lebanese. I've been attracted to an Italian guy before. We never got a chance to kick it, but I say that to say, while I'm open, I did not find John attractive. But he sounds like he's a nice guy. And for him to call Nene and to offer to pay for Bryson's rehabilitation, I thought that was very sweet. Carlos asked Nene when did she think that the show started to become fake. Nene felt like when Kenya pretended to date Walter Jackson during season 5 when she first joined Roa, she felt like that was the turning point for the show in a bad way. But soon after, Nene did mention how Phaedra during season 3, when she first joined the Real Housewives of Atlanta, and Aiden was on the way, beautiful Aiden. Phaedra was pretending like she wasn't sure of her due date and giving all these crazy scenarios simply because Phaedra didn't want us to realize and do the math that she and Apollo were having sex before marriage. Now, Phaedra, she is a pastor's kid. Both her parents are ministers. She grew up in a traditional home. And that's what happens when you're raised by traditionalists. Nothing wrong with it, but it's hard for a spiritual woman when the men out here that's single are not spiritual and they cannot relate to your traditional upbringing and they're F boys and they want you to have sex with them. So Phaedra was lying due to the pressure, but I think that was very extreme. Just come clean, girl. Just come clean. And when the baby was born, it was Candy who went to the hospital. Then she went to the ladies later and said she just didn't want us to know that they were doing it before marriage. And everybody was like, oh my gosh. But I feel like when Kenya and Portia joined the show, I felt like there was a turning point in the conflict. The conflict seemed to turn into rage from really not just season 5, but season 6, the pillow talk melee, and then the reunion with Kenya and Portia. But to Kenya's credit, she wasn't the only person, faking things on reality TV. For years, from the beginning of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, people always felt like that show was scripted reality. You would watch American Idol, and you could totally tell that it was rigged on whom they wanted voted off and to stay. I'll never forget when Paula Abdul, she obviously had a script and she like read the wrong script because it was like one of those episodes where the singers, they had narrowed it down so much where they would sing multiple songs in a night and like they weren't on the next song yet, but Paula read from the wrong script where you could, and that's when everybody knew like, oh my gosh, American Idol is scripted. So I say all that to say that before Kenya joined the show, reality TV shows were producing moments, making it scripted reality. It did not just single-handedly start with Kenya and Walter Jackson. Now for the Real Housewives of Atlanta, if you're going to go there, it would have to go back to Phaedra season 3 with the line about when Aiden was due. Now, they also talked about season 6. Carlos said that season 6 had 5 million views, and he said that season 6 of the Real Housewives of Atlanta has the highest ratings in Real Housewives history. I totally find that believable. Season 6 was amazing. I feel like the first 6 seasons of the Real Housewives of Atlanta was fire. I love seasons 4, 6, 9, 11, only because Portia got pregnant, and I knew that was important to her. Season 10 wasn't bad. That was after Phaedra was taken off of the show, and Kim Zolciak's daughter was talking about Nene's house, and Kenya lied about being married to Mark. Season 12, I binge watched that a couple months ago, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sure this is an unpopular opinion. Season 12 wasn't as bad. That was when Giovanna was on there and pretending like she secretly taped Cynthia talking about Nene. And they had the first virtual reunion, the only virtual reunion, and the ladies crushed it. Season 12, not so bad. But anyway, Nene was like, oh my gosh. So season 6 had 5 million views, and the current season 15, they get 500,000 views. Oh my gosh. And that is sad. That is a dramatic drop. But, it's going to have to be worked out somehow. But we know those old classic ensemble cast will never happen again. After season 5, Portia was on the chopping block. Nene said it, and Carlos corroborated her claims. She said that Nene and Kandi went to bat for Portia. Carlos said that he was the executive producer for season 6, and he was the first Black male executive producer of a housewife show. And he said that everyone was proud of him and said, well, we're going to make this season 6 amazing for you. So he kind of had a proud moment, like speaking to their unity. So then Nene said that she never saw Kenya as the star, but she was needed. She called Kenya and Portia great additions to the show. Now, I don't think that there's one person who adds to the flavor and success of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. It definitely has been a group effort, even during those first 6 seasons when the show was just absolutely amazing. Now, of course, there are fan favorites on reality TV shows, right? But not just one star that brings in those ratings. Especially on the Housewives franchise, I feel like it's always a collective effort. What do you all think? Now, Nene said that no one threatens her. If anything, she's the threat. Now, while Nene is definitely iconic in reality TV, she does have some ego. And I am a Nene fan. I'm just acknowledging the ego. Let people give you your flowers, Nene. Don't just snatch them. Now, Nene misses the friendship, but does not miss Cynthia because allegedly Cynthia was in an alliance with both production and other housewives to try and get Nene off. Now, if that's true, in my opinion, I don't think that Cynthia was on that type of time until season 6 when Nene called Peter a bitch. And then also, I kind of feel like Peter was probably always pressuring Cynthia to be a little bad ASS. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was behind any of her antics to try and get Nene off of the show. So now I'm just looking forward to the cast and their reactions to this part 1. I want to hear what Sheree has to say, what Kenya has to say. But you all let me know in the comments what you thought of this interview. I also want to know what you have to say. Please hit the like button on this video and please subscribe to Show Style and Spirit. I'll talk to y'all soon and take good care. Bye-bye.